Wow, full house. I was thinking this would be the graveyard shift and everybody would have gone home at 4:30. So well done, everybody. So as Simon said, my name's Gary Newman. I'm the chair of the Alliance for Sustainable Building Products. And I just want to talk to you a little bit about multifunctionality as we see it in very broad terms before I'll then pass you on to the experts who will drill into some of the detail of some of these performance aspects. Somebody's going to have to throw me off after you've given me 15 minutes and I gave my colleague Kerry my only device that tells the time. So you'll have to let me know if you want me to leave. Right, so a little bit tangential. I'm going to give this a go. I thought about it on the train on the way down. Never done it before. Let's give it a go. Has anybody in this room had a McDonald's beef burger? 1, 2, 3. A few. Right. Okay. Bear with me. So beef burgers, particularly McDonald's beef burgers, particularly sold on the taste. It's all about the taste. So the question that I have for you is it all about the taste? It's all about the taste in the moment, but what about an hour later? Maybe you're hungry again because it's not really satisfied you, or maybe you've got a bit of tummy rumbles, you know. Maybe the after effect is not that fantastic. Maybe the long-term impact, sorry guys who've had the McDonald's, as long as you don't eat too many of them, maybe the long-term impact isn't that great. Maybe chemicals that go into the burgers have a negative long-term health effect. I think they probably do. Let's maybe extend that a bit. The packaging, is that kind of part of the burger? Is that something also that's about the burger that's maybe not just about the taste? Or the beef, where the beef comes from, whether trees are cut down to make space for more beef, that kind of thing. So in essence, I suppose what I'm trying to say is that it's not about one thing. Marketeers would like to tell you that it is. So if your insulation has an incredibly low lambda, it's all about the lambda, all about the thermal conductivity. If your insulation is entirely non-combustible, it's all about being fire safe. And I think what the natural fibre insulation group is trying to communicate is that we should think about what insulation does in its entirety before we draw a conclusion about what a good insulation is or what a less good insulation is, or whether a particular insulation is appropriate for this project or that project, or this application or that application. Because in construction, as everybody knows, certain things are good in certain places at certain times in certain contexts, but not all the time. We feel a little bit, in the natural fibre world, we feel a little bit of the poor relations in terms of the market share of insulation. We are incredibly low, almost so low we don't register. That's not the case in continental Europe. It certainly is the case in the UK. Very, very, very small percentage of the market. Less than 1%, significantly less than 1%. I'm talking our sector down now. Now, why is that? And one of the reasons we don't feel that the benefits of using natural insulation are particularly well understood, and that's essentially why we formed a collaborative group, essentially among competing organisations, to explore that in a bit more detail. And we think this more holistic view is particularly important for insulation when you think how much of the volume of the fabric is basically insulation. It's a lot. So what else might insulation do that's not all about the thermal conductivity? And I suppose I'll just do a quick overview of the 8 features that we think, when anybody is specifying insulation for a job, the 8 features they should think about it. Of course, thermal is the first thing you would think about. It's an insulation product, therefore it's got to reduce heat loss. That's not all about lambda, that's also about thermal mass, which flows into thermal comfort. Thermal mass is a benefit, particularly in lightweight structures, to help smooth out temperature fluctuations, and natural insulations, through the fact that it's a natural fibre, not a mineral fibre or a plastic, has weight for weight, more thermal mass, more specific heat capacity, and also the density of the products tends to be high. Thermal insulation can also be acoustic insulation. Natural insulations tend to have excellent acoustic properties, largely because of their higher weight, increased density. Fire protection. This is a particularly controversial area. You've got to be careful what you say these days. At the moment, combustible materials are very much under attack, in the spotlight after Grenfell Tower. We believe that there is a significant problem with just imagining that we should build fabric from non-combustible materials. Certainly we have to be fire safe, and there are many cases when a natural insulation would be very fire safe, more fire safe than a petrochemical or a mineral. There are applications where it might not be, and it's very much a question of understanding of the fire performance requirements. So significantly complex area, poorly understood, and I think we watch this space in terms of where all the regulation goes. But we're certainly hoping that timber is not wiped out from the materials open to construction, because it is the exemplar low carbon product. Health. Insulation affects indoor air quality, certainly for occupants. Does the insulation off gas? Is it healthy for the supply chain, for the installers? Is it healthy for the whole supply chain? And I think we need to extend this. Health and well-being is quite a fashionable. In fact, our annual conference for the ASBP was last week, and it was called Healthy Buildings. I think it's a very fashionable area at the moment. Lots of people are focusing on health and well-being more than low carbon, actually. But it's important, we believe it's important to extend that thinking, not just for the occupants of a building, but anybody who might be involved in the supply chain. Comfort, we've talked a bit about, that's to do with indoor air quality, that's to do with thermal mass, that's to do with acoustics, so it flows into a lot of other areas. Buildability, so as you all know, our regulations are design-based regulations, not outcome-based, so the theoretical performance of insulation is what we design to. The real performance can be significantly different, and that's largely partly to do with how well they can be installed. Can they be installed in a way that doesn't leave air gaps, and often not. So we think that the handleability, the usability of the insulation is incredibly important. Durability, another significant area that we don't always think about. So will the theoretical thermal conductivity of an insulation product that it says on the pack, will that last long term? You want that level of insulation performance for 50 years, 100 years, not just one. And then of course, sustainability. So we need to think about resource efficiency, we need to think about end of life, we need to think about sustainability in the broader sense, toxicity. And I guess as a group, of course we would say this, but as a group, when we think about all those things together, it often puts natural insulation at the top of the list rather than at the bottom. And there are many applications. We haven't put cost on here. There are many situations where it is also the most cost-effective solution, but maybe not always thought of like that. And that can often flow from thinking of the building element rather than the insulation in isolation of the element. So I think that's all I want to say on that before I pass you. I was definitely under 15 minutes. So as Simon mentioned, the group produces briefing papers on some of these technical questions.